We hear it every year, that violent crimes spike in the summer, and last year was no exception. 12 people were killed in Boston between June and August. That's more than the entire first half of the year. And this year, murders are already on the rise, prompting the city to up its prevention efforts with an expansion of summer youth programs and trauma resources. But many community leaders are questioning whether those efforts will make a difference or really address the root of the problem. Leaders have also raised questions about the role of police in all of this, as the Attorney General's office investigates allegations of racial bias. My next guest has been working to prevent violence in Boston for decades as the founder and CEO of the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute, named for her son who was killed by a stray bullet in 1993. Chaplain Clementina Cherry joins me now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for the invitation.
Okay, so I get so frustrated, and I imagine you get frustrated, but you know, we start the summer and we hear about violence prevention, right? And then it seems like over the summer it's an issue and then people just forget about it. But you haven't forgotten about it ever. Like, it's not something that you ever stop thinking about. How does that, I mean, is that frustrating to kind of go through this again? And we're starting into the summer, right? And we're here, and that's how we're kicking off the segment, but.
It is, it's sad, it's re-triggering, and it's re-traumatizing because we tend to wait till the summer to talk about shootings. I know you said, 11 from June to August? Well, from January to May is 11, and then from September to December is 17 homicides. So the fact that we only wait for the summer to talk about the violence, it's one, minimizing and devaluing all those families who lost their loved ones before the summer and after the summer. So there has to be a way. We know this happens. I mean, 30 years and we're still focusing on the summer. And the young people that are being killed and that are killing were not even born when Louis was killed. So we have to look at it from a holistic perspective. Are we ready for summer of 2024? And hopefully we're not waiting till June of 2024 to be saying and repeating the same thing.
What do you think of these new programs? Do you feel like are you hopeful about them at all? I mean, some of them are
always hopeful. I have to be hopeful. What I struggle with is we don't sustain. They're not sustainable. Every administration comes in, we're following with something different and not sustaining. And then programs come and go, people come and go, and those that are living the issue are still there, and it's not sustainable. So yes, I'm hopeful. I have to be hopeful. I have to be hopeful because this is my city, this is my community, and I am raising young black grandchildren, boys, and I don't want to wait for them to get in trouble to talk about providing support to them.
I want to talk about, you're doing this work to kind of reframe the way that people think about victims of homicide. Why is that important? And can you talk a little bit about like what it is that you're doing and working on with the foundation?
Well, it's important because we tend to always focus on individuals. We want to focus on the gangs. The gangs belong to somebody. And the fact that you know somebody's a gang, it's painful for me to hear that. As mothers in the inner city, we don't raise our children to kill, and we don't raise them to be killed. So when Louis was killed, and I heard that it was a drug deal gone bad. There was kind of this justification as to why he was killed and where he was killed. And then when they found out who he was, that he wanted to be the first black president, he had goals, dreams, and vision, then the narrative changed. And then the justification was, well, you know, unfortunately, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. These things happen. This is a hot spot. And I think for me, I didn't want to deal with that narrative anymore. I wanted to shift the narrative. One, to teach the value of peace, and two, to transform the way we respond to families of homicide victims. When we talk about numbers, it's one victim. We want to focus on the families that are left behind. And there are really no resources, or there weren't no resources back in 1993. And so for us, is working within the schools to equip the teachers to teach the value of peace, and then working with our city leaders, with the late Mayor Menino, all the different mayors and our police commissioner and our police department and our hospitals to really transform the way society responds to homicide. We have developed the best practices in homicide response protocol within the city of Boston. Not trauma response, that's one. Homicide response protocol. Physically, nothing has happened to us. Internally, everything is happening to us. So we want to shift that narrative and not always focus on the problem. We have to focus on the solutions.
I wanted to talk about that profiling that you just mentioned, right? Because we talk about, you've heard from the district attorney's office now, they just released data that I think the concentration, the majority of violent crime occurs in Dorchester and in 4 neighborhoods, Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, and Jamaica Plain. At the same time, you know, arrest rates have increased, and Boston has one of the biggest racial gaps for the homicide clearance rate, which is the amount of homicides that were solved by the police. And that's been kind of proportional. It's happening at the same time. How do you think that we can address that bias, right? Because we're right now talking as well about like looking into the gang unit allegations of racial bias since 2018. All of that to me seems really connected. We're looking at Boston and systemic racism and how that plays a role.
This is nothing new. This is nothing new. I think what happens is that there's no accountability. Every single year we have that same statement. Every district attorney has done it before Kevin Hayden. Every police commissioner has done it before. Every mayor has done it before. Every minister has done it before. The missing link is we know the answer. The Center for Disease Control's social ecological framework tells us in order to address the issue, intervention must happen at multiple levels. We continue to focus on a small number of people doing the harm. Well, for me is, who do they belong to? If there's a gang unit, if there's a gang database, they belong to somebody. How do we make sure that we're bringing those caregivers into that conversation? Because 2 things happen. They either end up dead, and then they're re-victimized, and the families are re-victimized because of the involvement, or they end up killing somebody, and that cycle of retaliatory violence continues to happen. So for me is where you guys, the news reporter, you have to go deeper and ask, why is it that every year at the same time we're getting the same narrative? When again, the victims were not even born. This is 30 years doing this, and it's still Dorchester, Roxbury, and Mattapan. So if we know that these are hot spots, research has told us that we can cool it down and begin to create P-zone. If this was Newton and Wellesley, we would not be doing this. So yeah, so the arrest rates are going to go high. The clearance rate is not happening because it's the same people that are shooting, that are killing. We don't trust government, we don't trust system, and so people are not going to come forward. One of the things that we have done and we are working with is we are creating a Unsolved Homicide Ambassadors Group, where mothers whose children have been murdered want to be and want to work with our police commissioner and our district attorney and our family resource officer to really begin to have these conversations, and we want to be a part of the solution. If we are not included in that, homicides rate will not be solved. Arrest rates will continue, and we also want to make sure that we bring in the caregivers of those that are pulling the trigger, that are on that gang database. The solution is really simple.
Well, thank you for your continued work, decades of work focusing on providing hope and creating solutions for people. We really appreciate you coming on.
Well, thanks for the invitation. I'm here to serve.
Thank you.
I'm here to serve.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.